Good morning and welcome to Hello Westchester here on WCHE every Monday from 11:30 to noon. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Kara Corradoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which you can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. Good morning, Kara. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Good to have you back in here. And a little bit chilly this morning, change in the weather. So it's been a little back and forth the last few weeks here. A lot of stuff to get to today, as always. The first story we had coming up was Westchester University offering a lot of opportunities for inexpensive entertainment.
Yes. So feels like the last couple months, maybe even longer, we've been talking about some of the downsides to living next door to the state's sixth largest university. And not surprising, I was doing a little research on this, and Westchester University is the sixth largest university in the state. But aside from Penn State main campus, it is the only of those top six. It's the only other one that is not located in a major metropolitan area, either Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. So, not surprising that that impact gets felt at times. But wanted to take a look at some of the positives that come with having a top-notch public university in the town as well. And so, one of those areas is really the access to arts and entertainment at a often free and if not really reasonable price. Just 2 weekends ago, Westchester University's theater department staged the Shakespearean classic Henry V. I was able to get some tickets to that. My husband and I went over there at the theater there, and those tickets were $23 a piece. The cast did an excellent job. I mean, it was, a Shakespearean play. It's very intense dialogue, but they did a really good job putting it together. So if you would like to kind of get some more of those experiences, they happen fairly regularly if you keep an eye out. Much more, and by comparison, it's a little more economical than some other options. Just for comparison's sake, I did share that, a few others going on right now. Over the weekend, Uptown held their musical the last 5 years. The tickets for that were $51 by comparison. Not horrible, but definitely a little bit more expensive. And that really adds up when you're looking to buy more than, one or two tickets. And another really cool option coming out of Westchester University is through the Wells School of Music. Each year, the music school puts on more than 200 concerts. They range across a wide swath of genres. Within the last month or so, they had LA-based rapper Dylan Owen out. He performed with the Westchester University Studio Music Ensemble. Then, 2 Sundays ago, they had the U.S. Naval Academy Brass Band Quintet, and they joined the Westchester University's Wind Symphony and Concert Band for a performance. Each March, they host their annual and long-running multi-day jazz festival. Those also had several named, acclaimed performers, including violinist Diane Monroe and world-renowned trumpeter John Swana. And all of those concerts listed there were free. Many others are as well. Maybe they don't always have, acclaimed external artists joining them, but even using just the faculty and student talent, they're really some nice experiences, and like I said, a lot of those are free. Part of Westchester University kind of sees this as part of being a member of the community. As Westchester University Associate Director of Communications Christine Kozic told me, as a public university, they see themselves as a community resource and a cultural hub in Chester County. And they look to provide both educational entertainment programs for the public to enjoy. And that's just some of the ways they do it through the theater and music departments. But those aren't the only ways. There's also educational opportunities, too. There are lecture series you can attend, Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology. I believe it's free to attend, and they usually have one or two custom exhibits going on that are pretty interesting. Planetarium does regular presentations. Those are like $6 to attend. They're very popular, so you have to get up on their calendar. but that's kind of cool. They've also sponsored TEDx talks. And just before Artemis 2 launched earlier this month, NASA scientist Dr. Elizabeth Rempe spoke on the minerals of Mars. That talk was free and open to the public. In Newey this year, I spoke with Westchester University Associate Professor Dr. Christopher Romelli, and he's worked to introduce an informal lecture series called Science on Tap. This is hosted monthly at Barnaby's, and it features Westchester University faculty talking about their works and kind of its impacts on the community in a more informal setting. This was inspired from his own PhD experience over at Purdue University, where they had a Science on Tap, where they met at the Lafayette Brewing Company. So now they do it monthly. It's conversational. It's informal. You're allowed to interrupt with questions. And there really is no baseline knowledge required. What they're looking to do, according to Dr. Romali, is really to kind of capture that learning experience in a fun way that can be long-lasting. He compares it to being a kid and visiting a museum or a national park and listening to a park ranger or a nature zoo center or aquarium, and kind of how those experiences stuck with you. And he kind of wants these to stick with you as well. So far, he says they've been pretty well received. They have their regulars already, and a few that have just come out for one meeting, but they'd love to get the word out and see more. They'll be hosting at least 6 tech talks next year. So if you're in 2 more, well, I think 2 more this year. I think there's one still coming up in April, definitely one in May. So if anybody wants to join those, they are also free and open to the public. So, yeah, so it's kind of a cool way to kind of take advantage of some of the benefits of having kind of all this talent here in our town. If you wanted to take advantage, there are some upcoming things you can do. There is a spring concert coming up. That starts on April 23rd and runs through the 25th. Those tickets are $20. The Statesman Concert Jazz on Stage and Screen. That's going to be held on April 28th, and that's free. And then if you would like to take advantage of that Science on Tap, their next meeting is May 12th. Actually, there's one tomorrow if you want to check it out. It's on psychology, and that's over at Barnaby's. And that's free. So if you want to do that, head over.
That's something I always appreciated when I was at Westchester, just the amount of events they have going on. And, of course, I know last week was Banana Day, so
yes,
they have things on campus and fun little events for homecoming and Ramboree. And then in addition to the theater department, a lot of concerts, free and paid. And so that's something I always did appreciate. Yeah,
and that's right. That's not even counting the kind of community festivals that they do, like Ramboree and other things like that are going on. And honestly, we couldn't dig into all the stuff that you get through there. You know, they have a really well-renowned internship program that helps a lot of local businesses here. A lot of the students do volunteer work throughout the community. So there are other avenues too, but these, even just in the art center, there's a lot.
Right. So Westchester University offering a lot of opportunities for inexpensive entertainment. As Kara pointed out, some of these options are free as well. So make sure to take advantage of that. Moving over to West Goshen, revisiting plans for a new Wawa.
Yeah, so over at the Parkway Shopping Center, they are planning for a 5,330 square foot Wawa convenience store. It has 16 gas pumps. And if that sounds familiar to you, it's because we've discussed it already multiple times, probably a year ago, and the final plans were approved by West Goshen Township. It's going in where Timothy was. It's going to take off half the current Parkway Shopping Center. And it was at once approved or denied, but then it was challenged in court, and the township agreed to settle and approve those plans. So what we thought was settled turns out was not. What we learned is that the plans were back in front of the West Goshen Planning Commission last Tuesday night, and that was because they were reviewing an amended plan that took into consideration McDonald's. So McDonald's was not notified of the original plans, but they are not just a renter of that property there. They are actually an owner, and as such, they should have been notified of the plans and given an opportunity to comment on them during the original land development process. Since they were not, they had to go back and review the plans, and they've made some changes. And this has a lot to do with traffic patterns. So they had to make plans mainly for traffic patterns. If you do get the newsletter, there is a image in there that shows the detailed plan changes. They're marked in red. But what you'll see is that multiple changes were done for traffic circulation. They include new turn restrictions, added curbing, relocated signage, and reconfigured internal drive aisles around the McDonald's parcel. They really do make a pretty big change to how vehicles enter, exit, and move through the portion of the site. The Planning Commission was not fully supportive of the changes, but they were not exactly against it either, at least not willingly on record. According to Planning Commission Chair Corey Weberger, he said, "I object to all of it, but there's nothing I can say to prevent it. I don't think this is a logical traffic flow pattern." That said, at the end, the entire commission voted unanimously to remain neutral on the plan. It will go to West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors for final approval.
And that's interesting that you mentioned we're not being notified like McDonald's, because obviously that's a big staple in that area.
Yes, it was I think a fairly significant oversight in this planning process. We're not entirely sure how it happened. I guess, the speculation of some concern over, or some misunderstanding over their relationship to the property.
Right, and so we'll be following that closely. West Goshen revisiting plans for a new Wawa. And then let's go with one more story here before the break, and that was Chester Mountain Bike team wants to see more girls get involved.
Yeah, so this is a fun story. Had a chance to catch up with Westchester Mountain Bike team director Lauren Wenton last year. The Westchester Mountain Bike team is a joint project between all the middle and high schools. They came together 3 years ago now to offer students a new athletic experience, mountain biking. They are part of the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Cycling League. Their season runs July through November. They currently have 60 students on their team, from grades 6 through 12th. The mountain bike experience, as Lauren explained it to me, is kind of like a festival more than a traditional competitions. When you arrive, you'll find team tents that line the venue. There's music. The riders are everywhere. They walk the course trying to figure out the best way down. There's a lot of laughing, getting ready. The course itself, the event, is fast-paced. It's physical. Mountain biking tests your endurance, your bike handling, your grit. But what stands out to Lauren anyway is the positive experience that you see at these events. And then at the end, the exhaustion, pride, and huge smiles of all the racers. While the Westchester mountain biking team has been doing quite well, they finished third in the Atlantic region their first year, and then second their second year. Eastern Conference, third in the Eastern Conference their first year, and then second their second year, and they're now in their third year. They only have 4 girls. So one of the things that they are trying to do is to recruit more girls. But of the girls they have, one of them is Lauren's daughter, Emma Wenton. She's 16, and she is a nationally ranked rider, so she's quite well. She started at age 13, where she won the Mid-Atlantic Super Series for under 19 female riders. At 13, she won it. She won it again at 14. Then she moved to pro, so she now is a professional racer. In her first race as a professional, she took gold. She is now currently ranked 4th in the country and will be racing at nationals this July. So looking at kind of Lauren's experience, she sees some benefits not only from Lauren but for riders in general. And so what she saw is I asked her how Emma had benefited from riding, and she said, one of the biggest things I've seen, especially in Emma, is the growth in confidence. As she learned new skills and overcame challenges on the bike, that confidence carried over into other areas of her life. There's something powerful about realizing you can push through fear and accomplish things you didn't think you were capable of. To help other girls kind of maybe push through and find their own confidence, they are hosting a free Girls Riding Together Grit mountain bike camp. It's starting next Monday on April 27th. It's 3-day session. 3-day sessions. It's open to all girls grades 5 to 11 across the district. There's no experience needed. They can provide bikes if you don't have one, and the camp is free to attend. So, for those that may be interested.
And something that I find pretty cool, I'm just scouring their website, and it mentions that their team's all about having fun, building character, most importantly riding, and no one gets cut from the team. And so that's something I feel like in youth sports that you kind of worry, am I going to get cut? And you have that side of it, but here no one gets cut, no one sits on the bench, and everyone stays active.
That is good. That is a nice benefit. A few kids hidden into those cut years, and it is challenging.
Right, and as far as that website, it's wcmtb.com, and so there's information about joining and upcoming events, so make sure to check that out. But the Westchester Mountain Bike team wants to see more girls get involved, so make sure to check that out. We are at the middle of the show, 11:47. We'll take a break, and on the other side, we'll have much more, some quick updates, and looking ahead to some things as well, so stay with us, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Hello Westchester. I'm Eric Lambero, joined by Kara Corradoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which you can subscribe at hellowestchesterba.com. So picking up where we left off, we had some quick updates to get to, the first being the vape shop discussion continuing.
Yeah, so this is a story covered at the beginning of the month in the April 3rd roundup. It's the story of the Smoke Daddy vape shop that opened in a borough neighborhood over on West Washington Street. Well, I was contacted by the listing broker, Bo McGettigan, who wanted to kind of share a little background on the property and kind of how we got here, recognizing that not everybody's excited to have a vape shop in that property. But he wanted to kind of, pointed out it has a lot to do with the zoning and the process, and not necessarily preference on behalf of the building's owner. He says when we brought the property to market, the landlord hoped for a different type of use. The challenge is that most tenants are not willing to take on that level of zoning risk, and there is no mechanism to control who expresses interest. The space was openly marketed. The vape retailer was the only one that kind of stepped forward and expressed interest. They met the qualifications, and it really came down to basically renting the building or not renting the building. And so they decided to move forward with the rental and the occupancy there. But he said, I think we all want better outcomes here, and the focus should be on the process, a more transparent, timely, and cost-effective zoning path, or the ability to pursue targeted relief would make uses like a cafe, deli, or professional office far more realistic for the tenant to pursue. And I think that's probably something that a lot of people would like to see. So there may be some further action here for the borough and how maybe we can pursue changes that would make that possible.
Yeah, I know it's certainly been a big talking point. There's also a bill, I believe, in the House, sponsored by Representative Pielli, about the distance from schools and just the close proximity there. So something to watch with the vape shop discussion. And then moving back over to West Goshen, rethinking their recycling events. Yeah,
so if you were out and about, not this past weekend, but the one before, you may have noticed a little bit of a snarl over at 5 Points Road. West Goshen Township had hosted their e-recycling and shredding event, and it turned out to be wildly popular, causing traffic backups and leaving some people stranded after waiting hours to get rid of their materials. So they are going to be making some changes going forward to curb future problems. They have decided to limit the number of people who can attend going forward. This means events will be limited to West Goshen residents, and you will need to register ahead of time. So there were additional alternate suggestions made by some to the township that included maybe moving it to a larger location, like a park or a government services building that could accommodate the traffic better, or holding events more frequently. So some other ideas as well.
I was going to say, I think that is sort of a good problem to have, just because you are seeing a lot of people participating and with the shredding and recycling. So I think it is a good problem to have, but at the same time, obviously not the traffic part, but just the fact that community involvement. I
would agree, and that's kind of why I wanted to include some of those alternate suggestions, because I'm not sure that the best answer is just to reduce the number of people who are served. And maybe there's opportunity to think of ways to help, but just make it, more palatable, and we don't have the traffic and other issues.
Right, and there's a statement on their website regarding that as well, just discussing it. Going to our third quick update, senior assassins are back.
Yeah, always a fun time of year, but just, I think, worth a reminder, because the first ones always catch me by surprise, too. But Westtown East Goshen Police shared on their Facebook page a warning to residents that it is indeed time for the annual senior assassin tradition. This is a game that involves local seniors, high school seniors, stalking and shooting each other with water guns in an attempt to be the last senior who is still dry. According to the WeGo post, the safest option is not to play, but if you are a student who is planning to play, make sure you use brightly colored water guns, really ones that look like toys. Don't just avoid the ones that look like they could actually be weapons. Avoid hiding in dark places, wearing camouflage or a mask, and do not trespass on private property, especially at night. If you happen upon somebody else's property and you're asked to leave, do so. If you were stopped by the police, explain what you were doing. Do not run and hide from them. For residents, if you are concerned, call the police. Do not try to confront anyone yourself.
Right. I know that's something my school participated in. I did not, but it was always, you just got to be careful with that.
Yes.
Of course. So that was posted, as Kara mentioned, by the Westtown East Goshen Regional Police Department. Some tips on doing that safely if you were to do so. Let's go over to QVC declaring bankruptcy.
Yeah, this has probably been covered by quite a bit by this point, but yes, last week news broke that QVC, the Westchester-based retailer, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This comes as part of their annual report filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission on last Wednesday. This news is not terribly surprising. There's been a lot of speculation since the QVC group failed to release those financial results in February as planned. They are hoping to emerge from the bankruptcy process within 90 days with a plan. I've heard there's no layoffs at this time, but while they're hopeful, there are a lot of contingencies that are weighing on this, many which are outside their control. So we'll see, and we're wishing them luck in this process. QVC is the largest employer in the West Goshen Township, and they have approximately 1,622 employees.
Yeah, so definitely tough to see. I know it's been around 40 years, actually. I think it was 1986, if I read correctly, so 40 years since they were founded, but we're seeing this changing landscape, unfortunately, with the digital age. And so QVC declaring Chapter 11 bankruptcy. We'll see what's next for them. And we had two more quick updates here. Let's go next to Chester County, removing its pollinator garden.
Yes. So last week, Chester County government announced that it would be removing the pollinator garden planted outside the Justice Center. That was just done last spring. The decision stems from an incident that took place last fall in which a visitor in the Justice Center, or visitor to the Justice Center, ditched a bag prior to entering the building in the planted area there, and in doing so, kind of limited the sheriff's deputy's abilities to examine that bag from a safe distance. According to Chester County Communication Director Andrew Kreider, since the installation of the Justice Center pollinator garden, there has been a county concern about potential security issues resulting from the garden being so close to the public entrance. That incident just kind of reinforced those concerns. The county has announced that they will be moving the plants, likely either to the historic courthouse or the history center. Members of the Westchester Green Team who helped design and install the project, they were not as enthusiastic about the change. We at the Green Team are heartbroken about this, shared Green Team member Chris Pulese, who helped design that garden. Another member pointed out that this is the Green Team's living landscape's first failure. So sad to see that garden go. Obviously, nobody wants to add safety concerns, but still, I think it had an opportunity to be a positive presence there. But in happier sustainability news, the county did share that they are in the process of piloting a 2.5 acres lawn to meadow conversion project at the Pocopson home. They're going to be prepping the site this summer with seeding starting in the fall. That's not only an environmental win. Meadow conversions can also be a financial win because they limit the need for mowing.
And as far as the pollinator garden, I had read that was about a year ago, right? Earth Day last
spring,
year.
yeah. So it didn't last very long.
Right.
Almost a year ago now.
Right, and Earth Day coming up this Wednesday as well. And then one more here was Square Bar turning 80 over the weekend.
Yes, so Square Bar celebrated 80 years in the borough. They've had 3 owners. They are kind of your classic old school bar. It's very popular with the area's police, firefighters, EMTs, and nurses. So they celebrated over the weekend with a party in the parking lot across the street.
Yep, so here's to 80 more. That is Square Bar celebrating 80 years. And before we close, I know it's a busy time as far as events.
I know. Let's see if we can tick through a few of these for you guys. A lot going on this week. Today, in honor of Earth Day, Westchester University is hosting a Zero Waste Summit that starts it's going on now. So if you want to do that, you better head over. That's at the Sykes Student Union. Chester County, the Westchester Food Cupboard is hosting their Neighbors Against Hunger fundraiser on the 23rd on Wednesday. This weekend is Westchester Alumni Weekend. A lot of activities going on over at the university as well throughout downtown. If you're alumni, go check out the website for that. Also this weekend is the Westchester Film Festival. That starts on Friday at Uptown. Everhart Park's hosting a spring cleanup. Color festivals going on at East Goshen Park. The Walk for Paws, the 5K runs at West Goshen Park, and Earth Day events on Saturday as well.
So a busy time for sure. And so we got some runs. We have, of course, the Alumni Weekend as well as you mentioned the film festival. So a lot of exciting things. We are at the end of the show. Thank you, Kara. As always, you can get the newsletter, hellowestchesterpa.com. You can also get the podcast at 953wchg.com on the podcast tab. We will talk to you next time.